All right, here we go. Day 2 on the knife build. You can see that I've tempered it in the oven. You can see it's kind of hard to see unless you really know what you're looking for, I guess. But it's a kind of a straw color, a yellow color on the blade. Right there's a good view of it. Puts off a yellow hue. You know, you quench it in oil, you heat it, temper it, and then or quench it, and it makes it super hard and brittle. It'll make it so hard it'll just shatter. So put it in the oven, temper it back so that it'll be a little bit shock resistant, won't break as easy. Tonight we're going to do some final sanding on it, get it almost to sharp, get it burr sharp, and drill some pinholes and fit it for some handles and make some deer antlers. So that's the plan for tonight. I'm gonna put you on time warp and do some more sanding and grinding. That's what most of the knife building is. So till then, we'll see you in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna turn the music on and do some sanding. When you're sanding on a blade after it's already quenched, you gotta keep water pot nearby. You gotta keep it cool. You don't want your blade to get hot. You lose your hardness. So I just want to show you that. Got a little 1x30 belt sander. Got a pretty aggressive blade on it, but where I wore it out yesterday grinding away, it's pretty worn in, so it's not going to take too much material off or do too much too fast. If you look on the table, this is all the metal shavings and metal dust off of all the grinding we did yesterday. That's all metal. Imagine what you suck into your lungs. So yeah, after you make a knife, you blow some pretty gnarly, you know. So all right, I'm gonna put you on time warp and get the sanding. All right, pin stock for this will be just a brass rod. I cut them down to just be big enough to fit the hole in the handle. Probably only gonna need about 1 inch. It's be a little loud, but we'll cut them with a cutoff wheel. And then if I can find them on this dirty bench. This bench is a wreck. Well, I said it, now I mean it. I can't find it. Good thing is we got plenty, so we'll go ahead and cut us another one. a little hot. We just need to make sure that we put our scales on there, that our pins are big enough to go through both sides, which they are. Then we'll polish them off. I have tough hands. Alright, so that's making some pin stock. Now what I like to do is I like to lay my two scales that I've roughed in out. I've learned to wear a glove when I do this. I've got it somewhat sharp, so if something was to happen and it jump out of my hand, which sometimes goes that way, I like to make sure I got something holding me. So I'll line it up, drill one hole through the scale, go slow so I don't bust the other side of the wood out. And once I get that side in, I'll line this pin up, put the pin in this hole so I can't fail. Something you learn after you fail a few times. Line that pinhole up. Always when you trace out your scales, make sure you leave yourself enough room to sand and grind. Drill this side through. Now you got a pair, you got a hole that'll fit. And then you just take these two pairs and you match them together. You gotta remember how you laid them out. Just like that. Match them up. Set them one on top of the other. And then, get them lined up good. And keep them lined up. Do your hole to this side. And do the same thing that you do with the blade. Put your pin in the hole so that it doesn't unline. Line your scales back up. Drill that hole. And then you should be able to easily enough put your pin through the knife blade. Put the pin through the knife blade in the first scale. I don't know if you can see that. I had it zoomed in on that. Then put your other two pins on. Put your other scale on. Snap it together. And then see how you got a lot of room. Plenty of material to remove all the way around. Now we'll take this inside and epoxy it and glue it up and let it sit for a while and then go on to the next step. Okay, we got our scales made up, got the edges pre-done just so that when they marry to the side of the blade you don't have to try to get that detail on them. So now the other part is I just used some cheap Harbor Freight brand epoxy and mix up a little epoxy on the side here. I put tape down on the old bench. Most of y'all know I do construction work, so this old bench was a countertop. Oh, there goes the scissors. It was a countertop on a house I did probably 15 years ago, and the people didn't like it, so I brung it home and made me a bench. So take your epoxy, put A and B together, whip her up a little bit. I'm not very good at this. I'm sure there's people that are a lot better than me. And then I take my left side scale. You want to make sure your epoxy is white, like it gets creamy when you get it mixed up good. creamy and bubbly. And then I take a little epoxy and I just smear it on my scale. Put my pin in. I don't know why, but I just like to, I usually get a little slack in my pinholes somehow. Makes them fit easier. But I put my epoxy in my holes for my scales, and then I just coat my scales. Yeah, it's getting nasty, but you can, you're gonna sand most of that off or out of it, and then finish it. So I just, and like I said, I'm not very clean. I like to get things done and move on to the next. So put your pins in, put your blade in, then take your other scale and then coat it with epoxy. Just want to make sure you get all the surfaces thoroughly covered with your epoxy material and into your holes. You don't need a whole great deal of it because you're going to squish most of it out. So get your holes lined up, get your pin started. I'll get it here in a second. Don't help me, I'll get it. And then push it down. And then I don't have any kind of real amazing clamp system or nothing. Push my pins halfway through, get them in the hole, wipe up a little excess epoxy if I can, just makes it a little easier. And then all I use is just these guys. Just these cheap little hand clamps. And then I just leave her sitting there and let it get hard. And that's how you, or how I anyways, how I clamp up a blade in the scales. Got a little void spot right there, so while it's still wet, I'm gonna go ahead and pour a little bit in there. It'll all grind out of there too, so I'd rather have it in there than not. But so let me get me a rag, do a little wiping, not much. Wipe off some of the excess here and there. You go through a lot of rags, but hey. Alright. Now my fingers are too dirty to turn the GoPro off. Get my fingers cleaned up and we'll let that get hard, and then here after a while, it's supposed to be 5-minute epoxy, but we'll give it 30, and then here after a while we'll go out and sand the scales down. Alright, well here's how I figure out if the epoxy is set and if it's hard or not. It's a very, very scientific method. I try to pull the spoon up, and if the spoon pulls the tape and it's hard as a rock, and you can see in that spoon it's very hard, it's good enough to grind out. And then we just peel our tape up and we're ready for another one. Okay everybody, here we go. If y'all ain't figured that one out yet, that's my catchphrase. If I ever get popular, that'll be my first merchandise item. The t-shirt says, okay everybody, here we go. My old faithful friend King. That's my assistant. He's not much good for anything other than chewing on bones and getting in the way, but that's my big boy. So alright, we got the blade taped up just for protection's sake, and we're getting ready to do some handle shaping. So I'm gonna put you on time warp.